Big things happening today on Piney Grove, folks. The guys are here to put in our septic system. See the guy in yellow right there? That's where the tank's gonna go, and we'll show you where the drain field will be. We've got another video out on putting in a septic tank for my parents' house there, back behind my truck. And one of the big comments was, why don't you have a distribution box? And we'll get into that in today's video. Another comment or question we got in that video was, how much does it cost? And I get a lot of comments on how cheap it was. And that was 2 years ago, and I think you'll be quite astonished at what today's price will be. And again, we'll get into that at the end of the video. So there's not really that many moving parts to a septic system. Well, in fact, it's all gravity fed, so there's no moving parts. But let me show you what they brought here, and they brought everything they need to put in this septic system. Septic systems are based on how many bedrooms are in your house, not how many people live there, not the square footage of your house, but how many bedrooms are in your house. So we have the tank, and the tank is a two-part tank, and that's where everything will come out of the house bathrooms and go into that tank, and then that tank will feed the drain field. And once it comes out of the tank, it will go into these infiltrators, which will be set in ditches, and we'll talk about that and how, what kind of slope, or if they're set level. And then you have what's called sewage and drain pipe to connect it all together. So when the concrete was poured on the house, we have the outlet right there. So that's our septic outlet. I told the guys, I said it's somewhere under that window, and they used a probing stick here and found it. Real easy to get to. Now he's just digging a trench to where that'll go where the septic tank will be installed, and the septic tank will go where the blue line is. They got the laser going on there, and then he's got the stick up there, and he'll keep checking elevation, because this is a completely gravity fed system. So there's no pumps or anything. There's no mounds or anything. And by mounds, I mean if your ground doesn't percolate, if your ground isn't able to absorb, I guess it's called the sludge or the effluent. I forget what it's called, but if your ground can't absorb that, you have to do what's called a mound system, which is above ground, and they're very expensive, and some of them require 2 tanks and a pump. But this is going to be a simple gravity-fed system, 1 tank going down to the drainage fields or the leach fields. I just love watching a good excavator operator, and we have an excavator out here in Piney Grove, but I'm just not as skilled as these guys. And I think that's the same cat machine that was here a couple of years ago. It's a super, super smooth machine, much smoother than our Kubota, but they're not gonna let me get on it. So he's gonna dig out this tank, and that truck actually has a crane system on it that the tank will go directly from that truck into this hole they're about to dig. He just told me that the tank is 5 foot tall, and that's got to be below grade, so they still got 3 more feet deep to go on that hole for the tank. So we met with an environmental specialist, and her job, or what her business is getting you the septic permit. So that way we didn't have to check the ground or anything. She came out and she dug a hole in the ground and got a soil sample. I don't know how deep, but it's pretty deep, let's say 15 feet or whatever. And she lays that all out on the ground, and she has a color match code. And that little template that she has tells her what kind of soil it is and whether that soil is conducive for a septic tank and a leach field. And then she submits all that information to the county, and the county analyzes it and gives you a septic permit. So the septic permit for this was $550. And that included her services and the permit. And what she did was, there's a pine tree on the line over there, on the edge over there, that has an elevation mark on it that she put there. And everything that they're doing is shot from that elevation mark. So this tank goes in, and once they start the leach field, that will all be based on her mark she put on that pine tree. And the tank will go up there. We'll have a line that comes down to the leach field, probably 3 leach fields. And they'll put them infiltrators in, and it'll just go right on down there. getting down to some red clay there, and we talked about the soil profile for the septic permit. So we've got the pond clay, then we have a layer of topsoil, and the teeth of the bucket are going to be right down, well, right down there. That orange is the clay. That's the natural dirt of our land out here. So when she did that soil profile, she had to test everything below that topsoil and make sure that water could flow through it. And we have a lot of sand here and a lot of pebbles in our soil. You can't have a real thick clay in your leach field, or else nothing will ever drain and it'll shoot out the end instead of being absorbed into the ground. So you see all that big dirt pile there, with that 1,050-gallon tank going in there, you're not gonna need all that dirt to backfill. So once he gets the tank in, I'm gonna get the Kubota and move some of that dirt just away so that he doesn't have to spread it. These guys move quick. They're getting the tank in position now.
This is a big piece of us moving into that house because I don't pay that much attention to details on things that aren't pretty. And the septic tank is awesome and needed, but not pretty. I was thinking the septic tank was going on the other side of the house. So this was interesting when I came out to watch and saw it going here. I saw them digging, but I thought they were digging like for the drain lines or something. I don't know. But look at that, right next to the house.
All of the, let's call it waste that comes out of the house is going to go into one chamber of that tank they just put in, and then it'll settle out. The solids will settle out. The effluents or the liquid that can flow down the drain field will then go into the second tank. When that second tank gets full, to where you'll see them put a distribution on the end, then it'll flow into that distribution and go into the leach field. So you can't have the things coming out of the house be at the other end of the leach field. We almost got him in trouble. We were talking to him about the tank, and he's supposed to be over there hooking up the truck.
He didn't need help. Look at that. He got it first time.
It backed right up to that pintle hook.
I mean,
behind me, you'll see the either the trim or the painters have showed up.
yes.
So there'll be something else going on, but that'll be in a different video. Lots of things going on in Piney Grove. This is 2025. This is our year. This is the year that we stop working for corporate America and we move out to this property and just enjoy life. And it's been a lot of work, and it's been many years, but it's all coming together. But this is a big step, because as soon as this is done, inspected and backfilled, we will have working plumbing in the house because we already have water to it. He just used the bucket on the excavator to bend them over, and that keeps the lid on. Now it's backfill time. Guys have the drain field marked out. We're going to come off the septic tank there, and we're going to elbow over here, and then we're going to have distribution. I think we're going to do 3 fields out here, but that's how it'll get fed. And unfortunately, in order to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. So 7 years of growing grass here is about to disappear. But I've got some good topsoil here, so I should be able to get this Bahia grass to grow back fairly quickly. Who needs a tractor or a forklift when you're able to operate and move things around like that? put the infiltrators down, and they have this end cap on them that got attached with a screw. So the effluent comes in here in this hole, and then that's just an empty cavity that actually the bottom of this trench is going to remain level. I always thought it would be sloped like from here down, but it's not. And that effluent is dropped in here. It's funny because you'll see the grass green all the way to the end of this septic field, but it all starts right here. And all that is a plastic cavity that keeps the topside dirt from going down into it. Comments from the last video where we put in the septic, and they said, why don't you have a distribution box? And a distribution box would probably go right about in this area. It would be a separate box, and the effluent would go down and sit in that box, and coming out of that box would be the PVC pipe that fills up those infiltrators to disperse the effluent. But what they're telling me is that's 80s technology, and if you put a box here that the effluent comes down from the septic tank to here and then has to run through to the infiltrators, they said that this box will become a problem, and they'll be out here all the time cleaning out the sludge in it. They've gone away from that, and I said, well, you know, everyone's saying that I should have a distro box, and can we just have one put in? It's not that much more expensive. And they told me, yeah, we'll put one in for you, but we won't warranty your system. So we're not gonna have a distro box on this one, just like we didn't have a distro box 2 years ago. Another comment we got a lot is, are you really just gonna put these, you know, pieces of plastic here that have this hollow cavity and expect that not to fill in? And here's what I got to say about that. I am not a septic engineer. I am a homeowner that's had 2 septic systems put in, or this is the second one, and this is the way they do it. I don't know if it has to do with Florida soil, maybe it's different from your area. My parents in Virginia, when they had a new system put in, they actually filled it with cut up rubber tires. They had a trench like this, might have been a gravel base under it from the old times, but they came in, dug it up, then they put a pipe in there with a bunch of holes in it, and they covered that pipe up with these recycled rubber tires, and that was their drain field. So the effluent would run through that pipe with the holes in it and disperse into the soil. That's not what they do here, and it's not even an option. If you want a septic tank in this area, this is the way that you have to do it. Now, this is with soil that will absorb the effluent. In soil that doesn't percolate, there's a different method. But leave a comment down below. What do you think of this? Is this different from the way your septic is put in? I leave these guys alone for a minute and come back, and they've got 2 of the drain fields done and working on the 3rd. So earlier we showed you a lot of clay in our soil, but this is where they sampled the dirt where the drain field is going, and that's just sand. There's like little pebbles in it, so it's not like a fine beach sand. There's actually lots of pebbles in it, so there's plenty of space in there for the effluent and the liquids and everything to be absorbed into the soil. Definitely see the sand soil profile here. We're coming to the end. Once he puts these down, it'll be even with the end here. We'll have the 3rd drain field done. He said, sorry for digging up all your pretty grass. He said, but when you start using this septic system, you'll have plenty of fertilizer. And he's right. Deb loves to mow grass with the Yocta Zero Turn, and this is gonna grow really fast here. It's got a little water in it to check for leaks. 1 chamber there. The other chamber here. And it'll go into the drain field, out that hole, through all this distribution, over to there. Probably gonna be water that comes out of this when he cuts it. That's how it works. I mean, once we have the pipe in, then it'll go into that tank there. And when that tank gets full, it'll transfer to that tank, and it'll go out to the drain field. Quite a bit of water. I don't remember the last house draining that much. maybe the plumbing was leaking in the last house. So the reason there's water in there is because you fill your lines in your house. When you install your rough-in plumbing, you fill them all and check them to make sure they don't leak. So there's a vent pipe or standpipe in the house. We filled that all the way up, so there was water through all of the pipe, the drain lines, and then you just watch to see if that level drops over a couple days. Just installed the clean out there. Now he's measuring to get that liquid inside the tank. What are some tricks of the trade with dealing with PVC? I mean, I use primer and I use glue, but is there anything you could tell me and our viewers about this to make sure of?
From what we was taught, the primer helps the glue seat in the pipe,
Right.
make a chemical bond. So,
Yep, chemical bond like a welding
yep.
instead of just a gluing.
Right, so that's why we always use purple primer on our glues to make sure everything's bonded good. And you want to make your sanitary tee level. You don't want it cocked to one side or the other.
Right.
And make sure you got about a quarter bubble fall to the tank.
A quarter bubble fall all the way
Yeah.
to the tank. So is there, does code call for primer? Like when they inspect it, will they look at the primer, the purple?
As far as I know, they do.
Okay, good deal, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pipe comes in 10-foot lengths and it's just over 10 foot. So he actually has to splice on just a short piece of pipe. We could have put that tank anywhere. If we brought that tank in just a few inches closer, we could have got away with one piece of pipe. It's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yes. Sticking out. That's just you there. Yep.
Boys say we got good fall, ain't nothing gonna sit in there. So this would be the second chamber. See, it's nice clear water because we have dirty water over here. But there's the hole right there from the first tank, and when it gets filled to that hole, it'll come from that first tank into this second tank. And then when this second tank gets full, it'll come out of here and go to the drain field through this filter.
It's inside here. This filter system keeps the particulates in the tank so it doesn't stop up your drain field that's inside of here. You're supposed to pump them every 3 to 5 years, and we take those out and wash them and then reinsert them.
But now they'll install that filter and we'll start to come out here to the drain field. So the inspector is going to check it with the laser, right?
He's going to check it with laser, but I'm going to check it before you get.
Actually, the inspector is still here, but he just inspected everything. He did the measurements to the well, the measurements to the water source coming in the house, and checked all of the drain fields to make sure they were level and signed off on it. And the way it works here in Florida is the county used to do it, but now a private inspector does it, and then he reports to the county. But he checked everything and said, thumbs up, and now we're backfilling. He's got one of the drain field trenches backfilled. He's gonna work his way up and do that one, then do the other two. Another thing I got comments on in our last septic install was, why do you foam that? And those are the two lids, the clean out lids for first tank, second tank, is to keep water and any kind of debris from getting in where the tank lid is. Because there's no rubber gasket or anything, so they spray foam that. And then if they have to come and pump it, they'll just scrape that spray foam out. They'll lift it up with this handle here and pump it out and then seal it back in. So a question you get whenever you put out a video like this is cost. And I hate to get into cost for two reasons. One, you could be watching this video 10 years from now. And then two, cost is very regional. So I'll just tell you what it cost here. This is a 3-bedroom house. For the other 2-bedroom house on the property, it was the same system, 1,000-gallon tank and 3 drain fields or 3 leach lines. And that was 2 or 3 years ago, before a lot of the big COVID price increases. So that one was $4,400 or $4,700 plus the permit. And the permit's around $500, I think. And that's a permit service. I think you can do the permit cheaper if you just do it yourself. So let's call it $5,200 for that one. Now this one, a few years later, prices have gone up and down with plastics, and this system installed plus the inspector. The inspector for the other one was a county inspector. I don't think there was a fee for the county inspector. If there was, it was minimal. But for this one, there was a $200 fee or a $250 fee for the inspector. So all in, this septic system was $49.50 out the door. And that's everything you've seen in this video from them starting with bare ground. So to me, that was very surprising that a couple years after that one, that it's only about $1,000 more. And I was really expecting something around $8,000. Now again, it's a very simple system. The only maintenance is if it doesn't work, right? That would be a maintenance issue. And pumping out the solids tank, which would be this one, and that's every 3 to 5 years, depending on how often, or how much waste you produce. With it just being me and Deb in this house primarily, this could go a lot more than 5 years without pumping, but they still recommend pumping it so that the filter gets checked and gets cleaned. So that's the price. Hopefully that helps you, but it's going to be so regional that it may not. I was just looking at the last frame that I recorded, and man, have things changed since then. And I'm not talking about just this video. It has gotten cold. The sun is long gone, but I've been working on this, grading it, and I told the guys, I said, get it the way you want it as far as packed and everything. I said, I'll do final grade on it, because doing final grade with an excavator is slow, and he was gonna have a lot of dirt left over. We're not final grade, but I think it looks pretty good. So he marked the septic tank with the 4 flags right there. So all that is looking pretty good. And we had a whole bunch of extra dirt there, and I took that and I tried to feather it in coming down this hill, and the camera just doesn't pick things up real well. So it probably looks better on camera than it does in person. There, you can see it there, where it's kind of high there and kind of dips down as it goes towards the tractor. So either need to drag some more of that dirt with a box blade or put in some more dirt there. But all of this came out really good. That's a good transition down here to where the existing grass is. I don't know if this is any better of a view, but it's kind of got a good gentle slope going down here. I would say that's ready for grass seed. And over there, where the septic tank actually is, there's kind of a hump, and that dirt needs to be brought back this way. But that's for me to do. All in all, great job. The guys started at 8-ish, I think. Got done at 12:30. They had to wait an hour for the inspector, and then they were maybe an hour doing backfill. And then I took probably an hour or so doing what I did here with the tractor. We are now one step closer to our dream of having our house complete and living out here on Piney Grove full time. Check out the playlist below. It has all the videos from the initial scraping of the dirt to where we are now. And be sure to check back weekly, because every week we'll be posting an update on the house build. But that's going to wrap it up. So until next time, y'all take care out there. And remember, life's short, tractor hard.